You're listening to the Heroes Power Hour presented by BlizzPro.com. Your hosts, Balrog fan Zexorus and DJ Tyrant. Welcome, everyone, to episode 83 of the Heroes Power Hour, Heroes of the Storm podcast brought to you by BlizzPro.com. I'm your host, DJ Tyrant, and with me is the incredible crew, and there's so much news to cover this week. We're going to try to get through it all as fast as we can, but it might be a little bit of a long episode this week. With me, as always, is Zexorus. How you doing, man? How was your week in Heroes?
It was pretty great, actually. Did some Hero League, finally jumped back into that and found out that you know how to play Kerrigan. Just pick her if you're between gold and platinum. You're going to win more often than you lose. I got to cast some of the HGC Open qualifiers with you on Saturday. That was a lot of fun. But all in all, just a pretty solid week in Heroes. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm excited for the new changes that we're going to talk about here later on.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool changes coming. Some controversial ones as well, but we'll get to those when we do get to those. Carl, how was your week? Well, it's been 2 weeks since we had a show, but how's your gaming and Heroes been lately? You're muted, Carl.
I'm muted. Heroes has been good, pretty uneventful. I did enjoy watching some of the... I actually ended up watching more of the EU qualifiers than the NA ones, because I'll like hang out at early mornings right now. I'll turn on the stream and play games, and then evenings I've got stuff going on, or weekends, so I miss the NA ones. But I did rewatch a couple of the NA videos, so I enjoyed that. I always like seeing competitive outs.
Yeah, for sure. And as always, Balrog fan, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. It was a productive 2 weeks. I didn't play as much Heroes last week. Still kind of addicted to that whole Warcraft thing. That hasn't changed much. Final Fantasy 15 came out. That was also a thing. But I'm very excited for Season 3 coming up. I think I'm actually going to make a pretty strong push in Team League this season. I like the changes. I think it's going to be fun. I might try some more solo stuff too. I'm definitely going to do my placements in both and maybe try to push to gold and beyond in Hero League, and we'll see where Team League goes.
Yeah,
I believe in you, buddy.
We'll be talking a lot about those changes, but I have to say I've been playing mostly just casually, quick match here and there, but I've been playing a lot of Varian, and I really enjoy his playstyle. It's really fun, and I'm glad to see that changes are coming for him. Maybe we'll see a little bit of a uptick in his win rate going forward, but lots and lots of changes to talk about. I want to briefly talk about the Brawl this week. Have you guys had a chance to play it? What do you guys think? Zex, I know you were hype over it.
It's absolutely idiotic, and that's a good thing in this case. It's just so weird. Like, you'll be standing there and boom, you're dead. You're like, how did they see me? I'm standing still for like 3 seconds and not in a bush where you think to snipe. It's just a random snipe out of nowhere. So, like, I actually like this Brawl a lot more than normal because it forces you to look for stealth. It forces you to look for that blur and try to get that snipe off. So, which is really, really handy whenever you come across stealthies in, quick match, Hero League, whatever. So, this one's providing a lot more benefit than just Nova sniping everywhere. This one's actually kind of grinding a little bit of skill into you.
Yeah, I do like that you do get tower shots for every kill that you do get on the enemy team, so it helps speed it up a little bit more than how the Sergeant Hammer one was, which was interesting.
I had a game end before the first tower spawned. I'm
that's
not I
amazing.
had a game end before those first towers
That-
spawned, and even my team was like, "Wait, what? We won?
What happened?
What happened?"
But speaking of things happening, I want to really get into the meat and potatoes of this episode this week because we have a PTR patch that came out yesterday, and it is chock full of just a ton of things for Heroes of the Storm. The kind of main thing is obviously the Winter Veil event coming out, 25% XP bonus from December 14th till January 4th. And Winter Veil quest, play 25 games in any matchmaking mode, and you get a special snowflake portrait and festive treasure goblin mount. Okay, when this first came out, it said treasure goblin mount, and I was exceptionally tilted because I spent 20,000 gold on that goblin mount, and I'm like, Blizzard's just giving this for free now to players? I don't know, but yeah, the festive treasure goblin mount, which I think was like. You had it last year during the event. You just didn't get it permanently. You'll get it permanently now. So, nice little reward there for players. It is what it is. We'll have to see how it turns out when it goes live next week on the 14th. Ranked Season 3 updates. Charlie alluded to these. These are really cool, and they were the things that Blizzard had talked about at BlizzCon. Party size requirements are adjusting for Hero and Team League in the sense that Hero League, it's going to be all solo queues. Team League will be broken down to 2, 3, and 5 player parties now.
Woo!
And the 2 and 3 player parties can only queue for Team League if all members are ranked within one league of each other. 5 player parties are not going to be restricted by that. And... let's see what else there is. Just
It's
the
still
regular
first come, first serve.
Okay.
Even in a 2-3.
Interesting. That's very interesting, actually. That's going to be first come, first serve.
Yep.
So yeah, the drafting's going to require a little bit more coordination. And then silence players can no longer queue for Team League for the duration of their silence penalty. So
I think that needs to be extended to Hero League as well, because you're gonna.
It already
I
is.
think it's already
yeah,
in
it's
Hero
already
League.
there.
Alright.
They
It's
lifted
an
it
addition.
for Team League because it was like you're playing with 4 friends, so you're probably going to flame them. So we don't care.
You don't know.
But
me.
now they're reinstating it because you can queue as 2 and 3.
That's fair. Oh, God, was it? There was one. Oh, it was a quick match game. We had an Uther that we had a Tychus disconnect, and then the Uther sat in base and repeatedly pinged the Tychus to him.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, I was legitimately tilted over that. Actually led me to tweet to Browder. Hey, can we just restrict silence players to AI games? Because and quickly gave a rundown of what he did, and that's simply ridiculous.
So, Balrog fan, I really want to hear your thoughts on this because you mentioned in your weekend games how these changes will probably get you playing Hero League on a more consistent basis, or at least really trying to get the goals that you want out of Hero League. What do you think of the changes?
Well, in general, I'm happy that Hero League is going to be a solo experience as far as like your ranking is concerned. I don't know that I liked duo queues and what it kind of did to the weird like advantage that could be created sometimes with players on comms together and whatnot. So I think this is a much better change. It's going to really open up Team League. You don't just need 5 people. You can actually play with your friends, gain rank, and you don't need a full party all the time, it's helpful because it's hard to get everybody on the same schedule sometimes. So
It's going to make Team League queues much better.
oh yeah,
That too,
way
yeah.
better, which is exciting. I'm a little miffed about the within one league of each other for 2 and 3. I get it, but I don't know. Like I can't play with Carl.
Yeah, unless we
we're-
have a 5 stack.
So, and it's not like I'm not as good as Carl, but I don't bring him down as a player either. So it's kind of one of those things where it should be left up to the player's discretion. If you're queuing as a group of 3, you probably all know each other. So why do you got to be within ranks of each other? Why doesn't it just try to balance you with 2 people who are kind of in the same boat as the 3 of you? Or vice versa.
Yeah.
I'm guessing
People will claim boosting and claim if you can.
yeah.
If I can do it with a bronze guy and get him up to gold or whatever, you know, then it makes a environment for team league that seems pretty. And I think in general, most people will care less in team league about their ranking. The more grouped queue will always be more casual. But even so, if you've got 2 and 3 queues, you got like our 5-man team. Now that there's players out there, we're really gonna try and hit the top and be the best. And you got those people that can be like, you're invalidating this queue.
I guess. I feel like that's very transparent, though. Like, those players get blown up. Those players who are being quote-unquote carried get blown up pretty easily, or if they try to get out of their lane and play, like, in a 2-man queue with a random or something, they're going to be exposed. But, yeah. I get you. I hear you.
So,
I just
actually...
want to wear my special snowflake portrait Team League and feel like a special snowflake.
Yeah.
He always told me I was a special snowflake.
Flame,
Everyone's a snowflake.
This note probably pertains only to you out of this group, but Diamond League will now contain about half as many players as the previous season. Does that concern you at all?
I'm sitting in Diamond 2 and I have been for a couple weeks. I should still be in Diamond. It might put me lower Diamond. I'm pretty happy if I'm like Diamond 1, Diamond 2. It's like I'm close enough. It's like I wish I was Master, but it's still like I feel good about a Diamond 1, Diamond 2. If I end up 4 or 5, it's not going to feel great, but that might actually motivate me to play more to really get out of that. So I don't know. I think it's healthy for the game overall. My personal, my play is like I don't really want to be a Diamond 4 if they actually have this. But for the game itself, there were like 15% of 10% of players are Diamond, and that is a little high. So, again, for the people that want a really competitive queue or whatever, it makes sense.
Yeah, so good changes, I think, all around to rank play. Season 3 will be coming out sometime next week. They said they didn't have a specific date or time from the blog post that was put out today, but that means hurry up and get what you can done for Season 2. It means I need to finish out my Team League placement so I can get that wonderful mount for Season 2. And probably try to grind out some games in here like to hopefully help my MMR for next season, but we'll see where that goes. Also released on the PTR was Ragnaros, finally coming out after his announcement at BlizzCon. All reports seem to be that he's pretty darn powerful. Got to play him one game in a brawl with the new Haunted Mines, which we'll be talking about in a little bit. But Ragnaros, he's a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun.
Real quick, Jimmy, I did dig it up. It did say Season 3 starts the week of December 12th. So
yeah.
That's next week. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you said there wasn't a date.
There's not an exact date.
Oh, okay.
It'll probably be that too.
It'll probably Tuesday, yeah, but we'll see.
So
but yeah,
December 13th is probably the end of Season 2.
Yeah. So get your games in, get your Team League games in. Make sure you get that all squared away. Ragnaros, I think Zex, you've been able to play him quite a bit on PTR. What are your thoughts as another assassin coming into the game?
He's not as good as I thought he'd be, to just be completely blunt. He's fun. He's definitely fun. The wave clear he provides is deceptively good with Sulphurous Smash. His what's his that casting ability he can put on himself? It slips my mind.
I don't remember it, but
the shield move speed thing.
Yeah.
That one's really good, and the meatball is actually hilarious if you take the upgrade at 1 and you get that quest done, because then you can control which way it rolls.
Mm-hmm.
So if you throw it at somebody running away and they turn and run towards you, you can redirect it back towards them. It does a lot of damage. It does a ridiculous amount of damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really does talent into that.
things I learned that if you possess the core on Cursed Hollow, and or not the core, the your top or bottom fort when the tribute spawns closest to those two positions. I think we saw during HGC Zarya snipe somebody with grenades to prevent them from getting a tribute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Ragnaros can do that quite easily.
With
And
the,
his,
with the
Shift
W?
to the forts.
he can reach. Yeah, he can reach the tributes with his skills from the forts.
So the
So
left side top tribute, the right side bottom tribute.
No, left side top. I believe left and right, and top and bottom. So
You
the
can
farthest.
I guess can you get the left bottom from the mid?
No,
I don't think so.
I think
no,
that's
that was
closer to-
just. You might be able to, but
isn't
you're
that
only
closer
going to hit
mid
it
than
with
bottom.
no.
Oh.
You can only. If you can only hit it with one ability, and it's his lava rain or whatever. It goes in a straight line, but we had a Ragnaros just delay a tribute we were losing for far too long because of that ability.
Mm-hmm.
Because of those abilities just delaying for ages. So he's got a few niches he can take care of, but all in all, like I don't think he's going to be that impactful on the meta. He's fun. I like I love his concept.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's hard to really tell specifically from PTR how strong a hero is going to be. I really enjoyed Lava Wave. By the way, I feel like it's not going to be that great of a heroic later on in the game as people kind of learn to deal with it better. But
It
it's
is
so
going to
fun.
be really good on what's Braxis.
Braxis
Yeah,
will be. Yeah,
I watched
Braxis will
Gilly
be
Weed
scary
play it
good.
on Braxis earlier today, and it just the enemy team got 100% wave, and Rag just lava waved it, and then possessed the keep, and it did just no consequential damage.
Yeah. Speaking of Braxis, on Braxis, if you possess the enemy keep, anyone top or bottom, you can hit the core for free with all of his abilities.
That
Except
sounds
the swipe.
wrong. That's just wrong.
It's kind of not fair.
This is wrong. So at level 20, there's some interesting talent choices. Do you see yourself taking the raid boss one there on area on battlegrounds where you are kind of able to be aggressive with that ability, kind of like on Braxis, you were saying you were able to hit the core?
Not really. I don't think so. Like I said, almost none of my games on Ragnaros made it to 20. You know, I was getting very poor team compositions when I played.
Yeah, that's the hard thing.
Four tanks and Ragnaros, and okay. So I didn't get to really experiment with the 20s as much as I would have liked. I am switching over to the PTR real quick so I can get a gander at that. But yeah, go ahead, Jimmy. Why don't you give me your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I only played one game. I was lucky enough. I loaded up the Brawl because I wanted to play Haunted Mines, and Ragnaros was thankfully one of the options. So I didn't have to buy him to play him on PTR. I got to check him out a little bit, but he's a lot of fun. I mean, his wave clear is pretty solid with the Molten Swing and Meteor Shower. Even the Explosive Rune does really solid damage as well. But I do think Lava Wave will be really good on Haunted Mines as well. So it's another battleground that I think Ragnaros kind of might have a niche pick for. But we'll have to see. I mean, PTR, you always have to have the asterisk next to your experience. You're like, well, it's this very limited set of games, limited player pool. So your mileage may vary. But, I mean, we've said with other hero releases on PTR, we're like, oh, well, they're going to be, like, really impact the meta. And they just, like, do nothing on live. So it'll be interesting to see.
Anytime you know where a push is going, where it has to go down one lane, like on Mines, on Braxis, Ragnaros' trait will be amazing. You know?
I agree. I think he's a counter push to push heavy comps, and He really does good work on those maps. I mean, when you're forced to defend something and he can make your fort that much better at defending, it's a bonus.
Yeah, and I am looking at that heroic difficulty, and it does sound really good because Molten Core is a 100-second cooldown. It's pretty much an ult.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just can't go around spamming. You know, I'm going to take this keep. I'm going to jump over to the enemy's keep after we destroyed it, and possess that. You can't do that. You have to carefully use that ability. And stopping 50 seconds off of that makes it a lot more useful, especially in late game when the pushes are coming harder and harder.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's basically a death timer. So that every after a team fight, whether you're pushing or you're being pushed, it'll be up.
Yes.
After a map mechanic, it'll be up.
The one thing I really liked about it,
those 2-lane maps, though, I think Lava Surge is going to be the way to go, just because you have 2 charges, so you can clear both ways. So, example on Praxis, you can wipe, completely wipe,
basically instantly clear to both lanes.
Yeah, and clean the pushing lane.
Mm-hmm.
Because enemy heroes have to move.
Yeah,
you can't just sit there and just hold that damage. It's gonna take off about half your health.
Yeah, I mean the really cool thing about Molten Core is that as soon as you take over the fort or keep, if there's any minions pushing that wave, or even a boss or a camp, they're gonna start hitting you. And even if even if that fort is down, they're going to be attacking you instead of moving down that lane. So it's actually a pretty strong delay in that push. And obviously in the Molten Core ability, you just do a ton of damage. And just for people who might not be aware, the Molten Core actually starts on cooldown in the game, so you can't use it instantly at the start of the game. Not that you'd really find a place that's, I think, valuable to use it that early in the game. But that's just something to be aware
Maybe
of.
Skytemp put early damage on one of the.
That
also
true.
Probably pretty helpful in Blackheart's Bay if you could do that to try and get that first tower.
Yeah, for sure. But let's move on because we have a new battleground. No, not a new battleground. A reworked battleground, Haunted Mines. And I just realized there's actually probably a lot of players who never even got to play the original Haunted Mines because it's been gone for a year or
They're
more.
very fortunate. They should count themselves blessed.
Yeah, they should count themselves blessed. And if you want to know how bad the battleground is, well, it's still my highest percentage win rate battleground, even a year plus later after it being gone. But they did rework it, and like I said, I got to play it on the Brawl there. It definitely feels a bit more fair. The bosses switch lanes, or the golem switch lanes every time they're taken, and there's now 4 entrances into the mines below, so it's much more even. I feel like, and not nearly as snowbally as it used to be. What do you guys think so far from just seeing it on PTR?
I just have a question. I haven't been on PTR. Was the Haunted Mines just a brawl, or is it like a normal map?
That's why I wanted to ask too, because you've mentioned every time that you played it in Brawl mode. So
I played it in Brawl because I think that was the only way to guarantee you playing it instead of queuing up and hoping for a quick match. Because the only Brawl was the Brawl that was on there is just Haunted Mines. I'm assuming this is becoming a regular rotation battleground as well.
Okay. It was just normal mines. You could just queue directly for it by using the Brawl.
Yeah, and it was like a Brawl where you got random heroes, whatever.
Okay.
So it wasn't as balanced as necessarily you'd want to practice it on. But yeah, there's a bunch of new mercenary camps too. So you have the sappers, the pumpkin sappers now available as camps on both sides of the battleground. So they'll go suicide themselves into the nearest building, which is interesting, seeing them use those mercenaries on a different map than Towers of Doom. So many battlegrounds. I tried to remember all their names, but Zex, have you had a chance to play it?
No, because I didn't know where it would be at, and well, now I know where it's at. So I'm definitely gonna try it out because I'm really excited because Haunted Mines was one of my favorite maps. It was the old map was just so snowbally. You could end a game at 5 minutes if you played it right.
We had one game like that, I feel like.
I'm pretty sure we did. Everybody had a game like that on Haunted Mines. It was Haunted Mines. That was the point. That was the reason why you wanted to play Haunted Mines, was because it was a quick game and you just wanted to, get your fix real quick. You didn't play it because it was a good map. It was the most heavily unbalanced map in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I'm definitely gonna check it out, try it out, but it sounds like it's a lot. Like Carl's worries a couple weeks ago, might be overbalanced.
Yeah, we'll see. Any other thoughts on Haunted Mines before we continue on all the rest of this PTR stuff?
Not really. I mean, I'm excited for it. That's all. I always loved the map. I didn't care that it was snowballing. I thought the better team usually won Haunted Mines.
Yeah.
But
Zex, I guess they listened to you. They added healing fountains in brawls now are unkillable, or invulnerable, however you want to say it. So that'll be exciting to see in brawls going forward. We won't have to deal with that anymore. I said specifically Blackheart's Revenge, Garden Arena, Punisher Arena, and Temple Arena. So the other ones, no dice, but those are the ones we were concerned about. How happy does this make you, Zex?
Oh, you have no idea. Like, those particular maps that were mentioned, the whole idea was go destroy their fountain as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. It's the game turns out a lot differently when they can't just run back to the fountain, wait a few seconds, and come back in.
Because it wasn't a normal fountain. It was heal 80% of your health on like a 15 or 30-second cooldown. And that's enormous.
Yeah, and that was
when you don't have that option, it's just...
That was by design by Blizzard. They wanted to make brawls fast-paced and not be like, oh, everyone's waiting around for their cooldown to come up. So you're continually fighting no matter what. So that was awesome. A couple other battleground changes. Zerg Rush, the initial Zerg spawn in Brax's Holdout from 3 to 6. Okay. That's 3 Zerglings that die really quick. Not a big deal, I don't think. And in Warhead Junction, the Warheads are getting their base damage dropped and now scales flat every minute and doesn't have that huge jump up at 18 minutes. Inner Warhead damage is still the same, 50% bonus. But let's get into some hero changes, though. The hero changes are big.
I just want to mention that we have the one of the mounts, the Summer Championship mount with the not the Cloud9 logo. That was the which logo was on that one?
Tempest.
Yeah, Tempest. This will most likely be your last chance to buy it. I don't see that mount coming back anytime soon. Mm-hmm. It's a $5 mount, so you mount collectors who haven't gotten around to collecting it. This is your last week to do so.
Yeah, that's a good reminder because I need to pick that up.
I'm literally buying it now.
See, I'm helping even people on the show.
Yeah, There you go.
Imagine the listeners I just helped.
You helped everyone out. I really appreciate it. It was our Lord and Savior, Powerhour fan.
Oh, the Hellbore is now on sale, who came with the Samuro bundle.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just noticed that. I was trying to figure out where I got him from.
Yeah, that was where he came from. But, dude, these Chromie, we'll start with Chromie. So Willy Salt, we'll get out of the way really quickly here. Time Walker trait got a significant change, a major change, a game-breaking change, maybe. We'll see. Increase the level reduction for gaining talents from 1 to 2 levels. What does this mean? This means you'll be getting level 4 talent at level 2 on Chromie. And you'll be getting heroic at level 8.
Why?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well,
I don't understand this. I have to see it in action before I can really complain about it. But so many of the maps and so many matches, they're balanced around pushing the advantage for having talents, not fighting until you have talents. 1 level didn't feel so bad because she was so squishy. 2 levels is a lot.
Her power spiking is absolutely ridiculous at this point. You are getting your ultimates 2 levels before anybody else. Your team is still fresh off their level 7 talents, and you have your ultimate.
If your team has a level lead, that's 3 levels earlier than the enemy team's going to. I mean, it really pushes advantages in Chromie's way, and that feels like too much.
If your team, the rest of your team has your ultimate, has their ultimates, you are just on the verge of getting your level 13 talent.
Here's my take. Chromie should always have had this, and should be balanced around it, because the 1 level reduction feels almost useless. And like everybody's freaking out now, it's an actual trait now, because this is significant. This matters. This makes a difference. Before, not as much. So I like this change. I think she's going to be silly with the current amount of damage and stuff she has. They might have to scale down some of her talents. They might have to nerf some damage. I don't care. But this gives her a real trait, and I'm happy with the change.
I will actually agree with you. Her current damage output is just absolutely insane, especially with this new change to Time Walker. They've got to nerf the damage on something on her. Otherwise, why bother picking Hammer? Why bother picking, long range Siegers? Just pick, because you will have a huge AoE slow or a lockdown, which will lead to almost guaranteed damage on a target. Provided they don't have a cleanse. I mean, Shifting Sands is essentially a persistent old earthquake.
They're also combining. You have to keep in mind they're also combining at level 1 the talents of Time Walker's Pursuit and Peer into the Future. So now when you activate Time Walker's Pursuit, it reveals an area for 2 seconds. Enemy seen or revealed for 4 seconds. So that helps out her survivability quite a bit against obviously Nova's, Zeratol's, and even Samuro to some degree.
I think this is mostly because they wanted that sick dragonflight animation to get used in the game, and nobody was picking Peer into the Future.
Yeah. On the PTR, everybody was taking that talent, and it's honestly a really good talent.
Yeah, and we really were focusing on the heroics coming online at 8 for her now. Just think about the timings now on Battlegrounds that are going to be a little bit different. Cursed Hollow is really the one I kind of think of, because you usually don't have heroics by that second the second tribute, but now with Chromie, that's a very real possibility for a heroic to be available during that tribute.
Yeah, and like I said, either ultimate on her is honestly good in my opinion. Shifting Sands is
zone control.
Yeah, it's a wonderful way to just stop your opponents in one of those choke points. And usually you're not going to see yourself running into a Shifting Sands, a well-placed Shifting Sands, until it's too late. And then by that point, whoever's still channeling, the rest of your team is responding in kind, and the enemy team is backing up. Unless they're really gung-ho. I'll use that word.
Yeah, so...
If you've got blinks, Shifting Sand is irrelevant. If
Correct.
It's been there for a while, it's basically a wall, because you'll die if you go in.
But if you blink in,
your mobility's gone. You've blinked aggressively.
Hold on.
You better have a backup plan.
Not only that, a good Chromie will recognize that threat in advance and will just take the time rewind. And you blink forward, you just ate a ton of damage in response from a really angry, bronze dragon. And then the rest of the team is already, hopefully mobilizing to finish you off, because you just ate probably 1,200 damage. For thinking, I'm just going to get on this Chromie and no, you're not.
Oh, okay. Balrog fan, any closing thoughts on Chromie before we move on to some of the other heroes getting touched on the PTR?
I don't want to overreact. I think it is very impactful, though, and probably going to result in some damage scaling, as Carl kind of hinted at. I'm a bit worried how it's going to affect. If this makes her strong enough for pros to pick her, I think they're really going to try to leverage that advantage, which it'll be interesting to watch, but it might feel unfair sometimes, which will result in the damage scale down. But we'll have to see.
Yeah.
You can never tell until you see it, buddy.
Yeah, for sure. Flame, I really wanted to touch on this quickly because Kale is one of your favorite heroes. Does this Pyroblast change do anything? Cast time gets reduced and the cast range is increased. Does that help?
It does. I don't know how much the cast range helped. The cast range is already pretty decent. The cast time is important because the biggest drawback to taking Pyroblast is you're sitting still for 2 seconds. Now you're sitting still for 1.5 seconds, which is still sketchy, but it's doable. And I mean, here again, the 30%. You can stand further back when you're standing still for 1.5 seconds because it just, Kael'thas is a mage. His health pool is about 3. If a thrall runs at him, he dies. So
this gives him more bush capability for casting.
Yeah, it does, and it basically, if you can start it, you want to use it in the start of a fight. It's still like any good fire mage, you never pyroblast in the middle of an encounter, but
I don't get it.
Wow,
Warcraft joke.
Roll with it.
If he can start a fight out, and just blow somebody up, or even burn a ancestral AD shield or whatever before the fight started, because Phoenix is nice, but it's not a huge damage thing, and it's never going to force out a ancestral.
No.
So stuff like that. I think I'll have a better pick rate. 30%
increase in cast range. Isn't that like 2 monitor screens away now? Because let's be honest, Pyroblast already had a pretty impressive cast range.
No, it's long.
So that's like, I'm gonna guess that's fishing hook distance.
If you're in quick match and the enemy team doesn't have a healer, you're gonna pick Pyroblast and you're gonna click on their Li Ming, or whatever they have, and they don't get to do team fights that whole game.
And there you have it, everyone.
Then, more up.
You heard it here first. Pub stomper extraordinaire, Kael'thas.
From the guy who doesn't play quick match.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. But let's move on to some of the more impactful changes on heroes. As Rhaegar, the poor orc that's been hit by nerf bats all year long, finally gets some incredible buffs, let's say. So yeah, his biggest attack damage is increased. Some of his talents have changed to increase damage, but the big one is obviously Bloodlust's functionality changing too. It's the affected allies that get hit by Bloodlust now heal for 30% of basic attack damage. Wow, that's a pretty significant change. Let's get our resident support player though, Powerhour fan, to talk a little bit about this change and what it means for the support meta right now.
You see Bloodlust sometimes. I think this will still be the same kind of LOL Bloodlust thing in quick match and unranked draft, when in uncoordinated teams, really. Players who are just kind of meeting together and playing this game. But in coordinated play with the right team comp, you could really see some scary... basically you're going to be able to hold your ground in certain areas because of that 30% basic attack damage. When you're forced to fight on a choke point or a channel point or whatever, Bloodlust can really switch the tide in your favor and also allow you to chase down those kills because it still gives you that movement speed boost.
How about that leeching plasma synergy?
The leeching plasma synergy? I like it. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, sure. That's pretty good. I think I don't want to undersell the lightning shield buffs either.
Yeah.
That's on heroes quite a bit, and that extra damage could end up ticking and meaning the difference. It's not obviously not as big of a change as Bloodlust, but lightning shield is one of Rhaegar's better abilities, and the extra damage is nice.
Does that help bring Illidan maybe back in the meta as well, because that combo was always really strong when Rhaegar was like really high in the meta, where he was just instantly picked all the time. Do you think that's?
right now.
Do you think? I know he's
People
good.
just don't pick him.
I know he's good, but do you think this is gonna bring the pick rate up for Illidan because he's going to be able to have that added damage from the lightning shield now?
I wouldn't discount it. I've always thought that best friends were Rhaegar and ETC.
Mm-hmm.
I think light damage helps ETC a lot. Ancestral is because ETC he has a lot of disruption and he's great as a zone control and combo tank who can set things up, and he has a global. He's just he feels a little squishier than other tanks sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Murden kind of feels that way now too. Murden doesn't feel as tanky as he used to be compared to anyways like some of the more prevalent tanks these days. But Lightning Shield has always been their best friend because they like to be in the thick of things, and when you talent into it to also give you a shield, an actual health shield, that extra damage can mean the difference in getting kills and whatnot. So I think it affects the tanks a little more. Obviously, Illidan's a dive-happy man who likes to get in on people, and extra damage is always welcome, but I think it's more impactful for the tanks, personally.
Yeah, I can see that. I think I'm a little more up on this change to Bloodlust. I think especially at the highest levels, where you're going to have coordinated teams who really benefit from this, and you kind of build those auto attack heroes around picking the Bloodlust. You know you're going to pick Bloodlust no matter what. Going in that is going to be big. And even the level 20 upgrade to it is insane, because now it increases Bloodlust healing from 30 to 60% of basic attack damage. That is insane sustain for late game when you're putting it on people like, say, Vala, or even like a Thrall for that matter.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at that's a very impactful change to a level 20. Like, you look at Farseer's Blessing change, which is secondary healing effects increase from 25 to 50%. You're like, I'm still taking Storm Shield. But with Gladiator Warshout, you take pause and you go, 60%, huh? Maybe I can skip Storm Shield this time since our entire comp's built around this. So I definitely think Gladiator's Warshout is a great upgrade to make that even more kind of a sexy pick for Rhaegar and team comps that revolve around Bloodlust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. But now we're finally getting to the real meat of this PTR patch. The hero reworks. They're all on warriors here. The big one, well, they're all big, but Artanis is getting basically a complete rework. I haven't had a chance to just go dig really deep in these changes here, but who has had a chance? Sex, I imagine, as a warrior player, you've taken a look at this.
Oh yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how to use it. I mean, it sounds really good. It is really good. I have no idea how to use it. I'm still trying to kind of figure out when the optimal situations are to use that. I have blade dashed over a wall and swapped somebody into the loving arms of my team across the wall, which was really fun. But then I can't do anything. I can't follow up because I'm across the wall. So I'm just like, now what? I'm away from my team. I'm a tank. I need to be in there with them. So there's going to be someone's going to figure out how to use this, and everybody's going to go, oh, okay.
What Zex is referring to is now you're able to use Phase Prism during the Blade Dash, which is a huge change. Something they've talked about for a while now, and we are finally seeing it come into the game here.
Yeah, but the changes to Blade Dash, I believe he has a talent now where if you take it, or maybe it's baseline, every enemy hit by Blade Dash reduces shield overload. That's really good. I love that change. It's baseline. I love that change because you could theoretically take that to main tank status. If a smart enough Artanis will be able to solo tank him incredibly well, just because. And I believe it works on Zerg waves. So at this point, he's almost auto pick for that particular map, just because if you're facing 150, 75 Zerg wave, you blade dash into it because shield overload pops so quickly now. It's 60% of his health now?
75.
75. So yeah, you eat a little bit of damage at the start, or maybe you just start off underneath it. A Zergling bites you, your shield pops, and then you pretty much have another shield ready to go. Just by blade dashing into the wave.
I think and they kind of mentioned it in the developer's comment, the biggest problem with Artanis was always he had no solo lane presence. He really relied on team synergy, and this gives him some of that, these changes. So he's a lot more viable on various maps that require rotations or holding down lanes, and he can actually do some work rather than just kind of waiting for his team to show up, which is it's a good change for any hero. Quality of life, even.
Between this, Zealotard baseline that gives him the face prism thing, and Zealotard baseline, he has engage now. He can lane now. When are people going to start picking him?
Yeah, that's the one thing we'll have to see when he gets picked. But make sure to check out those changes on the PTR patch notes. There's a lot to go through. I wish we could dedicate a whole show just to Artanis if we wanted to break that down. But there's two other warriors that we have to grind through, and Dahaka is one of them. Zexer's one of Zexer's favorite heroes, and it's interesting that he's getting a rework now, considering the amount of play Dahaka has been getting in the competitive scene. So, Zex, I have to concede to you. What do you think of these changes as well?
I like them. I like all the changes. This makes him a lot. I love the change to adaptation, healing 100% of the damage. That makes it a lot more useful. I wish adaptation was a triggered ability, like you activate it and it doesn't start until you take that first bit of damage. I wish it was kind of like that, because your Dahaka, you're going to be in everybody's face. You're going to take damage. There's no way around it. So, but that's fine. I'm still okay with that. I love burrowing claws. It's something I've always wanted. Burrowing claws, I believe, is at 16. It's called tunneling claws. Mm-hmm. You can now move when you're burrowed.
Now that's pretty cool.
Which almost every single death I've had is, and other Dahaka players will agree with me on this, is post burrow, because the whole enemy team just gathered around you and had a grand old time.
And so, is that going to be the go-to talent at 16?
Honestly, I think so. It could be. There's still
paralyzing enzymes and elongated tongue.
Yeah,
those. It's really hard to pick at 16.
So that's what Blizzard's going for, these hard choices to make on these talent tiers.
Yeah, and they succeeded, because a couple of games on the PTR where I played Dahaka, I was like, there's Tunneling Claws saved me. After I peeled for the team, I was able to just burrow. You get 2 seconds of burrow, and you're still moving. I think you're moving at like 75% move speed, but it's just enough to get yourself over that wall and back to safety. And it's an incredible survival tool, and it even has some synergy with lurker strain and stuff like that. So I'm really happy with these changes. The Primal Swarm talent at level 13, enemies take a minor vulnerability, I'll call it. So they take 15% increased damage from all sources. That's amazing. You couple that with Symbiosis, that's an amazing combo. And Essence Claws is wonderful. I don't think it's going to be as useful as Brush Stalker, or Apex Predator.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're hitting a lot of team fights, getting all that extra essence gives him additional sustainability, and it's really handy.
And that slow to your enemies that you're hitting is going to be huge for securing kills. Because you're only getting this late in the game because it's Storm Talent level 20, but hitting those and being able to secure kills, we all know how late game one late game kill can win you the game.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. But yeah, the Dahaka changes are amazing. I think he has solo tank presence now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the only thing I wish was that adaptation was a single, was a triggered ability. So
Yeah, for sure.
That's a minor and doesn't really detract from the amazing changes he's just gotten.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say on that.
Yeah, for sure. So lots of good changes for Dahaka players coming in to this next big patch. But Charlie, Diablo, your favorite hero, getting some significant changes. And for those of you who are not familiar, but Powerhour fans' favorite hero is obviously Diablo. But he played a lot of Diablo, and very early on in the Powerhour, there was a big nerf to Diablo, and he was not happy.
We played the funeral bell.
Yeah, we played the funeral bell for him, but what does Diablo get here?
What's going to end up being the big takeaway from all this is Diablo's going to have a lot more survivability now. Two of his most picked talents were moved baseline. The Fire Stomp, the talent was called Firestorm, where the fire wave would return to you doing 125, but that's just baseline now. Now, one of the talents didn't get technically put baseline, but at level 7, you would generally take his talent, which was called Soul Steal, that increased the amount of health you gain from Black Soulstone by 50%. Well, now that talent is still available for a choice, but they also made it so the bonus max health you gain baseline is increased by 50%. Or, no, actually 100%. It's increased by 100%. So you can now get 0.5% off each stone, or
0.6.
Actually 6.25 basically. But it doesn't feel like you need to take that as much anymore, especially with some of the new options at level 7. Leech life at level 1 is huge. From the get-go, he's going to be his auto attacks are going to return health to him. That's going to make him feel more tanky. They're adding a resistance, 25% resistance for 2 seconds after he uses his Q, and that's just baseline. That's pretty big because he can now dive and not be so easily focused out with that resistance. You can also take a talent at level 1 that increases that resistance effect from 2 seconds to 5 seconds, that's pretty huge. There's just so many different things here that are going to allow him to survive. At level 4, he's getting a new talent called Speed Demon, and he gains 30% movement speed for 5 seconds after being stunned or rooted. That gives survivability. I feel like that will be something you'll take against certain teams for sure. At level 7, he's getting Soul Shield, where each black stone stack also grants him resistance to abilities. Again, more survivability. That's pretty big. At level 16, he's getting something called Fearful Presence. Heroes and summons that attack Diablo have their attack speed reduced by 20% for 2.5 seconds.
Jeez.
And you can activate that to reduce the damage dealt to nearby heroes by 30% for 3 seconds. Now, I assume that means allied heroes. I would hope it would anyways. But basically, you can provide damage mitigation for your entire team on activate for 3 seconds, which is, if anybody's being focused, that's the difference between life and death there. He's also getting Hellgate, which is activate to teleport a short distance and place a demonic rune at that location. After 1.75 seconds, the rune explodes, dealing damage and stunning for 1.75 seconds. That is a Bolt of the Storm with a stun and damage. That's probably going to be the go-to pick now. Bolt of the Storm was always kind of in the mix with Lord of Terror. Lord of Terror edged it out a little more unless you needed that mobility and those good blinks. But now, the fact that you can set up you can set up bush gank stuns if people don't move out of the way of that stun. I mean, it's pretty big. So overall, I think he's going to feel a lot more mobile. He's going to feel a lot harder to kill. His damage, I want to stress too, because Diablo did impressive damage. It's probably going to take a huge hit. The base damage on Fire Stomp got reduced. The base damage on Shadow Charge got reduced. His Flame Aura got moved to level 13 instead now. And that damage got increased, but you don't get that to level 13 on the back end. So those numbers where he was sitting at 40,000 as a tank around level 10, you probably won't see much of that anymore.
Yeah, but overall, it sounds like you're pretty happy with these changes, and we'll be seeing you play some Diablo a bit more.
Yeah, definitely.
I did play some Diablo on the PTR. Hellgate is fun.
Yeah, I mean,
you have just enough.
Stun.
Yeah, it drops an Apocalypse rune at your point of.
Wait, it's the size of an Apocalypse rune?
Yes.
Oh my god!
No, it's not the size. It is an Apocalypse rune.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying it's exactly an Apocalypse rune, the exact size.
It's the exact size of an Apocalypse rune.
God, that's so good.
Yeah,
it's for some reason I was picturing like a small circle, not a full rune like that.
No, this is not a Gul'dan rune. This is not something some weak little orc's gonna use. This is the Lord of Terror getting in your face and saying, "Welcome to my doormat."
Oh my goodness.
And then suplexing, you're just minding your own business, and all of a sudden the Lord Terror's in your face. Welcome to my house, and then suplexes you.
Yes,
and then you blow up.
I'm super excited for this. I could gush for hours, so we should probably just move on.
Yeah, that's that's basically it for the PTR stuff. But Blizzard wasn't content to just release a PTR. Today they released a brand new balance patch. That was the update you received from the client today if you're watching this live. But lots of more changes to Heroes. So these are more on the balance side of things rather than just reworks. Global cooldowns kind of across the board got increased. So Brightwing, Falstad, and Dahaka is going to get changed, and we'll see them increase so they're not able to be used as well. But I think the really big issue here is that Li Ming's Wave Clear is getting significantly nerfed as Calamity, the go-to talent at level 7 Calamity, giving Teleport the damage on the spot that she appears at, is only going to be useful on heroic units anymore. It will not damage minions in a creep wave. So I feel like that's a bigger nerf than Blizzard is letting on to be. I haven't had a chance to play on live yet, but let's go around and talk about this one just because I think it's a very significant change to her kit.
And just to be clear, these changes are already in effect. They're live now. Yeah.
Finally, Ming, it was nice to see you in the meta for so long, but you're not around anymore.
I mean, her ability to solo lane and clear is gone.
Yep.
I was watching a pro match earlier where she split off and took care of some minion waves, primarily using her E. You're not going to see that anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge change. Flame, we haven't heard from you in a while. What do you think of this? Mute. Carl.
I
love you.
Anytime you draft in a pro setting, you have to take care of your wave clear. Li Ming was part of that. Now she's not. However, they changed literally nothing about her team fighting. And Li Ming is still terrifying in team fights. Li Ming is still good. She's not as good.
There you have it.
Carl laying down the law.
Carl laying down the law. So we'll have to see how those changes turn out for Ming. Samuro, once again getting changes. Windwalk cooldown increasing, damage being reduced on Blade Storm, and a couple of the talents getting changed. The Way of the Blade Level 1 talent critical strike bonus damage is being reduced, and the Mirage spell block mitigation being reduced as well. He's still been pretty high up on the win rates according to House Logs. Does this bring him a little bit closer to Earth, or is this part of the problem with his toolkit? Or we're still going to see a huge win rate?
The Windwalk cooldown being increased was needed. The Blade Storm is definitely going to dissuade those YOLO Samuros who just Windwalk around to your back line and then pop Blade Storm and just run with you, as your team is trying to back away. I don't know a lot of Samuros who took Mirage, but if Blizzard's saying it's overperforming, then it's overperforming, and I can't really argue with that. But these are probably going to be the final nerfs we see to Samuro at this point. Like, I think this is going to drop him down to the 51-52% rate where he needs to be.
Yeah. So yeah, more changes to heroes across the board. Zeratul getting some changes as well. Shadowhunter getting a higher cooldown reduction, so buff there for Shadowhunter. Grimtask AP power is increasing and maximum AP is increasing as well. Mending Strikes healing is getting a little bit reduced, but Void Slash is at 16 is going to have a 10% damage increase from where it was before today's patch. What do you guys think of these changes to Zeratul? He just had a recent revamp of his talents, and they're just playing with the numbers here.
I don't know what to think about Zeratul anymore. I've seen him look amazing. I think he might be one of the higher skill cap heroes in the game at this point. He's very hard to get the most out of, and you have to really know what you're doing with your positioning, your setups. Void Prison was already kind of like one of those things where I've seen really bad Void Prisons. I've seen game-winning Void Prisons. So I've seen game-throwing Void Prisons. He is a high skill cap character, and I think these changes kind of push it even farther in that direction. They reward you more for playing him well, but you're still not going to get anything out of these changes really unless you're playing him very well.
Yeah,
I know Carl has some experience with Zeratul. I don't really.
I played Zeratul to 10 when he was pretty good. I learned him. I was pretty good with him, and he would carry me in a lot of Hero League games. I had a really good win rate with him. I picked him up the other day, played a game or two with him after the rework, and partially because of the rework, and partially because I hadn't played him in 3 months, I was awful, because Zeratul is that hard.
I feel like he's very hard to use.
But, these are some buffs that'll probably give him a 1 or 2% win rate, and if Blizzard had data saying he was underperforming just a little bit, he's one of those heroes, because of that high skill cap, where stuff like this could make him like actually terrifying in the hands of a good one. But I don't know.
Yeah. Zeratul's not one of my better heroes for the reasons Charlie just laid out. I am too gung-ho in team fights, and Zeratul is not the person to go gung-ho with. Mm-hmm. If you're going YOLO on Zeratul, enjoy having a 10, 11, 12 death game, because you're going to get blown up every time.
Even the pros do it.
Oh yeah,
I watched I can't remember the teams I watched. One of the NA qualifiers, and that was Stray's team. Wrong? No, it wasn't Cloud. Okay. It was Prismaticism, I think. Or no, Goku. It was Goku.
Okay.
He played a super aggressive Zeratul. He died a lot. This is like HGC qualifiers. This is supposed to be like really good play, and he was just so ham.
Yeah, Insomnia, I believe on Grandmaster was also picking him, and he was dying a lot. He was getting use out of him, but it's one of those things where like he could have played him better, which is scary.
The rework gave him like a whole bunch of extra tools to go back in, right? So if you use those, it's just like you look so aggressive, and you're always on that edge of like doing a whole bunch of damage in Terez in their backline, and just getting blown up.
And I think part of the strength in Zeratul moving forward is going to be knowing when to threaten that, but not actually do it. I think making a team feel like the boss pull that you go and get right now might not be a good idea, especially if they see that shadow move around. You might not actually be doing anything, but just presenting that threat of like, oh man, he does so much burst now. He could really go ham and take out 2 of us while we're fighting this boss. Maybe we better pull off. Just that presence of damage it's enough to make him better in those situations. But you have to be patient enough and smart enough to show that without actually doing it.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. And there's still more hero changes, so we're going to continue on these. There's a lot of changes today, folks. This is literally just changes all day. But Varian is getting some buffs, mostly across the board, but some nerfs a little bit as well. His abilities kind of across the board are getting some good changes. Mana cost for Lion's Fang is Q getting dropped, as well as the slow amount being increased. Parry cooldown is dropping. The Heroic Strike trait, the bonus damage is changing from physical to spell damage. So that's going to be a very
that's reduced synergy with Second Wind.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
The other thing I want to note about Heroic Strike now is it will trigger Spell Shield because it's spell damage.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is true.
So you can... I wonder if that's kind of a buff to taunt as well, because if you pull a spell shielded or a target whose spell shield hasn't procced yet, you're gonna proc it 100%, and once that runs out, they no longer have their spell shield. So I'm curious. I think it's gonna have some good synergy with taunt.
Yeah,
I jumped in and I apologize.
Yeah, no worries. No, feel free to jump in. But speaking of taunt, the health bonus is increasing by 10%. Mana cost is being reduced, and I think this is probably the most significant change to Varian here. No longer reduces Varian's basic attack speed, so he's going to maintain his attack speed before he picks that heroic. So that's going to be good. Some of the talents can change as well. Lion's Maw is level 1 for the Q, slow increased from 40 to 50%. And then at level 4, Warbringer cooldown reduction is getting reduced from 10 to 8 seconds because of the change to parry, I believe. That's part of that.
Those are parry and
never mind.
Warbringer affects charge.
Yeah,
Parry
Warbringer
is
affects
W.
charge. There we go.
But they're basically trying to bring those 4 talents into parity. By reducing the cooldown of parry, that means you're invulnerable more often.
Mm-hmm.
And then by nerfing Warbringer, you get to charge less often.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
There you go. Thanks for correcting me.
And thank you, Blizzard, for agreeing with me. Because I said it when it came out that drop Warbringer down to 8-second cooldown reduction, and we're good. And that would be it's a really solid talent. So, I mean, I'm not saying Blizzard agreed with me, but I'm kind of saying they agreed with me.
But basically, the developer comments are they realize that Twin Blades and Warbringer are performing a little bit better than the rest of the talent builds, which is I think, pretty much agreed upon by anyone who's been playing Varian since release. And we'll have to see how these taunt changes. I haven't actually played taunt on live yet, so I'm kind of excited to try this out and see how it plays out.
Always taunt the bear.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a Rex that taunt the bear. I can't. It's a good idea.
Hashtag taunt the bear.
Yeah, there we go.
Let's get it trending, boys.
Nazebo got some changes as well. Lots of small buffs.
Yeah, he got the missile speed increased on his corpse spider, which is pretty big. I think that's going to help his accuracy on the spiders quite a bit. They come out a lot quicker. 20% is huge.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest change of note.
Yeah, that definitely is for him. Karazim, punching Karazim lasted all of 2 weeks. or however long it was, because Iron Fist is getting reduced, Earth Allies cooldown is getting increased, but Breath of Heaven movement speed is getting buffed, as well as Heavenly Zeal, which is a buff to that movement speed.
They also, there was a bug fix where they fixed an issue that caused Karasim's final hit during Wave 100 Fist to deal more damage than intended. So that's also a nerf to damage build.
Yep.
He will be coming back to Earth quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think
won't have that ally.
Probably the biggest change, yeah.
Yeah, the ally change is huge. 15-second additional cooldown now. Anubrak as well getting some minor buffs. A big health pool increase here for him, so probably won't see him in the medicine.
Didn't they?
Did
they just buff his health a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
That's what made Digi pick him up and start playing him. And Digi's been doing a lot of work with Anubrak lately, and I feel like, Anubrak's still the stunniest, most mobile tank in the game who's capable of putting out a lot of damage. So
yep, he's a good hero.
This helped him more. Yeah, he's good. He's very underrepresented, I feel.
Yeah, and then the other big fix or change. Nerf. Tyrael's sanctification cooldown is being increased 20 seconds, so that's what Blizzard does when they are trying to encourage people to pick a different heroic, is they start increasing the cooldown on one of them. But yeah, those are the changes that are live. Like Carl said, there are some bug fixes too. Well, there's one, the Karasim bug fix. So those are those fixes. They are live. But we had some really awesome play this weekend from the HGC, as the North American second qualifier was played, and like Zex had mentioned, both him and I were able to cast some of the games.
Woo!
And it was really cool. But spoilers that we did get to see Grandmaster jackets and No Tomorrow advance, which means there's a lot of teams vying for the final 2 spots that'll be coming up this weekend. But we each took, what was that?
I'm just excited to hear 2 new teams.
Yeah, 2 brand new teams.
Yeah, Grandmaster looked good in the match I watched him in. So I watched Grandmaster versus Vox Nihili, and Grandmaster just looked strong. They were playing at the level, but they were winning. They were winning when it counted, and they played a good 4-game set. They only really got rolled in 1 game. I think they picked a bad comp on Battlefield. Whatever they were thinking didn't really translate to what actually happened on the field. But every game was insanely close, and Grandmaster really stepped up there. And I'm excited to see some new blood infused into the NA. I'd like to see them continue to grow.
Yeah, I am definitely excited to see all this new blood. It's going to be really crazy. The first game that Zex and I actually broadcast, though, was between Nice and FSU Crab Legs. And on paper, you think, okay, Nice, if you're familiar with the hero scene, is for most of the former 2ARC crew. So they're really, I think, one of the ones who can make a good run in the qualifiers. They obviously didn't qualify this time, but look for them to potentially qualify in the third and final qualifier. But they played against FSU Crab Lakes, which has been together since the last Heroes of the Dorm, and they put up a really good fight. There were definitely it did go 2-0 in the favor of Nice, but there were definitely fights where they clawed their way back into it, and they just lost one team fight, and that's what lost them the games. So FSU Crab Lakes, they could be a dark horse maybe, but we'll have to see with the next qualifier. But I was just really impressed with that, because it was a first round match that was significantly closer than I think anyone expected it to be. Zex, what do you think about that too?
Yeah, that was I think FSU Crab Legs was down 4 levels that first game, and they came, and this was post. Both teams had heroics, so. And they came back, and they actually took the level lead at one point. They was still same level, but they had the experience lead. And then I believe it was on Sky Temple. Thrall got picked off, and it just all went downhill from there. It was either their Thrall or Johanna, but they came roaring back in a big way, and I had already written that game off. and FSU just, I'll say, clutched it out. I mean, they didn't win it, but coming back from 4 levels down, you're clutching that out. So I was really, really impressed. If I remember correctly, game 2 wasn't as impressive. It was close, but it was more. It felt like Nice was never in a position of, oh God, we could lose. We could actually lose this game, like game 1 was.
Yeah. But yeah, on the other series one of the other series we got to cast, you had this as the one you wanted to really dig into, was Grandmaster Jackets versus Miasma Esports, and oh my goodness, that was a slaughter. I have to say, Grandmaster looks so good.
No, the game 1, Miasma was tooling them.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
What game were you casting? What game were you casting?
I must have thought I think I was thinking the series before that. You're right. I was thinking the wrong series. There was a lot of games. Sorry.
There was a lot of games. But yeah, I had personal flashbacks from watching game 1, because Miasma, I'm going to go out and say it, they were clowning Grandmaster Jackets. Miasma had full control of that game from start until literally a minute before the game ended. And one bad team fight, their Johanna went down, Miasma's Johanna went down, and it quickly fell apart from there. They lost 2 more, and Grandmaster just seized that opportunity, pushed for it, pushed keep, and won the game off that. And I was despondent over that loss.
Yeah, it was pretty shocking.
I think game 2, if I remember, that was far less anticlimactic. Or that was an anticlimactic game, wasn't it? Where that game 1 was definitely a wake-up call to Grandmaster Jackets, making them go, hey, you know what? We're this far in the tournament, this far. We're going to come across good teams. We got to kind of stop clowning around here. We will drop a game, maybe 2, if we keep playing like this. And you saw their play in game 2 just completely coalesce and come to like this unstoppable head. I mean, it was level-wise, it was still a close game, but Grandmaster never looked out of control. And if I remember that game correctly, Jimmy, it was an ETC just sitting on a temple to win the game, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was.
It was such a good game. Miasma hung in there the entire time, and Stage Dive ETC just wins the game by just sitting on a temple for a few shots. And it's just like, it was so good, and it just ended so meh.
Yeah, it was a little bit, but Purple, you watched the other qualifying match, which was I think it's Dumpster Tier Superstars versus No Tomorrow.
Yeah, so this was basically a match of a bunch of names we know. Like No Tomorrow has, I think, Tiger JK and Talking Trees and people like that. Dumpster Steer as Sray. Urho's on No Tomorrow, I think. Iacona. Yeah, everybody you know. They were pretty good. The first game, Dumpster Tier played the Stitches Medivh comp that I hate. Or Stitches Medivh Malfurion, where you gorge somebody, Portal, Twilight Dream. And it and true to form, it works for like the first 16 levels, and they're like dominating, they're winning the thing, and then the enemy team gets enough survivability talents, they just can't get a single kill. They were up, it was Towers of Doom, and I think at one point, Dumpster Tier had like 20 health in their core, No Tomorrow had 5. No Tomorrow won the game. Because the Stitches Gorge combo just stopped being effective, because either their tank had too big of a health pool, Tassadar got his heal talents, Malfurion could ice block. It's just like, the combo just falls off so hard as you get these survivability options, and I don't know, the comp tilts me every time. Then the game 2 was a pretty clean win by No Tomorrow. They rotated smoother. They was kind of even for most. I mean, Dumpster Cheer like held their own, right? There wasn't a. Well, the last game was bad. But the first 3 games, Dumpster didn't look bad, but No Tomorrow just looked enough of a better team to win the game without much of a question. Game 3, Dumpster Tier actually won it with a Nubarak Tyrande. It was kind of weird. People weren't used to it. They pulled out the stun blow up comp, and it worked pretty well. I think that was on Black Hearts. No, it was on Immortal thing, Battlefield.
Battlefield Eternity, yeah. Last
game, Srey played solo tank Zarya, which I think was in response to the enemy team's Tychus. They were like, oh, we don't want to draft 2 tanks. They have a Tychus. It'll, we'll get blown up. Srey got blown up like 13 times that game. It was bad.
Gosh.
He got ganked a lot in the start, and so it was already like No Tomorrow had a level lead, and he just got picked off so often. As a solo tank Zarya, he couldn't do a thing. It was pretty brutal. I feel bad for Srey. No Tomorrow is a good team. I do hope they get into the league. I think they're good enough to.
Well, they qualified for this through that series.
Oh, sorry, No Tomorrow or Dumpster Tier.
Dumpster Tier, yeah.
The one that lost.
The one that lost, yeah, Dumpster Tier.
Yes. They're a good team, and I think they've got a strong shot. No Tomorrow was clearly the better team in that set, though.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty good, though. It was good. I enjoyed because there was the one super close game 1. Dumpster Tier actually took game 3, so it wasn't a stomp.
Yeah. I mean, it's really good to see these new teams come to form here and be able to qualify. And this is going to make for a really crazy third qualifier, I think, because Vox still is in, and I think they're still kind of expected to. But the really crazy thing with Vox, this actually just happened today, that How and Win and Hosty have left the team, and they've brought on Nightmare X and Rafflecopter coming out of retirement to try to qualify for the league here. So they have like a week to attempt to qualify here. But I mean, their Vox is still around. Nice still wants to qualify. Miasma, they could surprise people. They're a really strong team. And there's other teams still around. Imported Support, who qualified in the second fall regional for North America, is still around. So I mean, this is gonna be a crazy weekend of heroes for the final 2 spots for HGC in 2017. But yeah, I'm excited for this weekend. I'll be casting once again Saturday 3 p.m. Pacific. Make sure to check out my channel. And we'll be playing some games. We are going to go now to our lovely segment with Balrog Fan and Flame called the Newbie Minute.
Yes, we are. One little thing, too, I wanted to throw out. I meant to mention it earlier. I'm sorry. I know it's a long show, but it's already a long show, so who cares? Earlier in the day, Blizzard tweeted out that the patch changes were live, but they are actively looking at Murky. Murky is one of those lightning round heroes that some people love, some people hate, but Murky is being looked at actively, and we could see some big changes coming to Murky soon. So in case you missed that, just wanted to toss that out there. Anyways, we have our segment now, which is Newbie Minute. If you want, you can send questions on over to @Heroes Power Hour, and we will read them off. And Carl will answer them because he is a much better player than me, and I will just read them to him and try to chime in and help out with that. And in cases where we don't have people who actually submit questions, we just kind of make them up. So we're trying to kind of focus on this because it is the Nexus Challenge for this coming month, and we're getting a lot of new players coming in and out. So, I mean, it's good to try and help those players. So, anyways, with our first question this week, Dear Flame, what are the best heroes to buy to fill out my roster? I'm new to the game, and I want to know where I should put my focus.
All right, so this is for somebody new to the game, right? So I picked a couple heroes for each role who are both at no more than 4,000 gold and are pretty effective at their role and are simple enough to use. So for tanks, I picked Murd and ETC. They've been meta for like 6 years now, and the game's only been out for 2. They have straightforward kits. They have strong CC. They have good health pools. Like, there's neither of them lack anything, right? You're never going to be like, oh man, I wish I didn't have a murder on my team. They're straightforward. As far as assassins go, Vala and Raynor are 2 pretty straightforward assassins. Raynor's like the simplest hero in the game, right? You probably get him when you download the game. But that doesn't make him, not a good hero to learn on. He's just auto attack. He's safe. He's good. Vala is basically the same principle, except for instead of a self heal to protect yourself, you have mobility, which kind of ups the ante. And then if you want to learn a mage character who's very cool and reliant, I recommend Jaina. Just because, her stuff's, like Li Ming and Chromie are as skill shot dependent as Jaina, but it's long range. Jaina's kind of that mid range where it's close enough that you shouldn't really have trouble. She's not entirely dependent on a stun like Kael'thas. It's just she's a pretty straightforward mage. For supports, Malfurion, even when he's not meta, he's always going to be a good hero for new people. He has some CC. He has heals. There's nothing extremely complex about Malfurion. He's a good hero right now, like a really good hero. So this is also like, if you don't know Malfurion right now, please go buy him. No matter whether you played, no matter how long you played this game. But for a new player, he's a pretty straightforward healer, and also Lieutenant Morales. She's a heal bot, right?
Yeah.
That's all she does. That's all you got to worry about. Don't touch your grenades. just
touch your grenades. Don't listen to him. The grenades are godlike.
No, the grenades are really good. Grenades is a really great ability. If you're new to the game, just heal bot.
Yes, sir.
Lily, again, I struggle to recommend Lily to a lot of people, but she's not actually that bad of a hero. In new player games, she's good. She's simple. She's straightforward. She's easy. If you want to find literally the easiest healer in the game, pick Lily.
And yeah, you don't have to target any of her abilities. They all target themselves. So that's good when you're trying to learn maps and you're kind of locked in that support role. You're new. You don't know what's going on in Battlefield of Eternity, so you don't have to worry about aiming skill shots. You can avoid all the stuff that's going on around you and learn the map. I think she's one of the best heroes for that.
Yeah, she is. And then so specialists, I guess I'll put an asterisk next to these. The ones I've listed, those ones you should be focusing on getting. The specialist role is special. Not every team needs one. They're different than other characters, right? Especially like Asmodan, or Asmodan's not that bad, but like Abathur, Lost Vikings, stuff like that are just wildly different. Mm-hmm. So I listed 2 specialists that are push-oriented, that do specialize in siege damage, like most specialists do. But they're still good in team fights. They're not overly complex, and that's Nazeebo and Zagara. They've got some weird summon stuff. They take some skill, right? You have to hit things to be good at Nazeebo. You have to effectively use your hunter killer to be good at Zagara, and your Maz or your split pushing pressure have to be on point. So, slightly more difficult than a lot of the other characters we've listed here, but it is a specialist, so that's going to happen.
Yeah, and they're heroes that you can kind of focus on doing damage with. You won't get the most out of that hero, but no one's going to be complaining if a Zagara or an Nazeebo was there for every team fight pushing out a lot of damage.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Somebody mentioned too, I just want to jump in here for a second, buy the Nexus Challenger bundle. And while that is true, and a lot of the heroes mentioned here are contained in that Nexus Challenger bundle, which is very, very reasonably priced, this is more focused for kind of people who are just new to the game and buying characters with gold, because you get a lot of gold on the front end when you start playing this game, when you start leveling up and stuff. So this is kind of like focused at them. Like, these are heroes you can buy for cheap that are very effective and very easy to control and learn.
If you're spending money on the game, buy the Nexus Challenge bundle, and it gets you literally everything you need. I haven't looked at it. It's probably like 3/4 of the hero I just listed right there.
Yeah, the only difference is it's ETC, Diablo, Vala, Raynor, Gazlo, Malfurion, Lily, Asmodan, and a stim pack.
Yeah. So It's
It's
I think
pretty good.
actually they're working on the D3 skin Akuma.
Yeah, they had mentioned that at BlizzCon.
But yeah, so those are the heroes. You know, if you are constrained to gold, buy those.
All right, question number 2, and we'll try to plow through this real quickly. People are saying the build I use isn't correct, but it works for me. Should I try to get better with the meta build that they're recommending for optimization, or should I stick with what I know?
Okay, so in 90% of situations, the build doesn't actually matter that much. Blizzard lately has doing a really good job of adding diversifying talents, of nerfing and buffing a bunch of talents to make sure all 3 talents are relatively close. You know, there is a recommended build for almost every hero that's like, the pros will take this build all the time. But, you know, just because, you know, that talent is picked, you know, the other talent's probably like 90% of its power. You know, you're still going to be fine. There will be some talents that are just awful. There's like a Reddit article up right now about the Artanis Shield Dash talent, I think. It's the cooldown reduction on the shield or whatever, about how it's a trap talent. And there are occasionally trap talents where they're not actually providing you anything worth spending a talent point on. But for most of the heroes, in most cases, you know, you're fine. There's stuff like Ignite on Kael'thas back in the day, where it's just like a hero divining talent. Then, you know, obviously you want to pick that, but most of the time, pick what you're playing. You know, if you're below Diamond, your hero build has little effect on the game.
Yeah. I think a lot of this comes up in ultimates too, and I think if you feel more comfortable on one ultimate versus another, as long as it's not egregious, you can take that. I think if you're a Zeratul player and you're learning Zeratul and you're just like, I don't feel that comfortable with how strong my Void Prisons are, so I go Shadow Assault, people are going to complain at you. But if you're working on other aspects of a character like Zeratul, then you don't really need to focus on also trying to mix that in right away. Work on what works for you, and then improve in little spurts from here to there. I mean, I think mostly, when I think of this question, I think mostly of heroic talents, especially characters that are different, like Abathur. Both talents good, one talent more preferred, especially on certain maps, but maybe you don't feel comfortable picking that yet. And people are always going to give you flack for your picks, but ultimately just play the game well and learn what you can.
Yeah, that will definitely help things. So I think that's going to close out the newbie section here. Newbie minute.
Newbie minute.
Newbie 5 minutes.
Newbie 5 minutes.
It ended up being about newbie 9 minutes, but hey, we tried.
I mean,
No.
we called ourselves the Heroes of Storm Power Hour, and we're at like an hour and a half right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a double. It's a double
It's been a
episode.
powerful hour.
It's the newbie quarter hour.
There you go. But I think we've gone on long enough, so we're going to start closing out the show. But make sure to join us after the show for some games. Join the BlizzPro channel inside the Heroes client. But Zex, what's going on in the world of Patreon for us?
Well, we have. I have just added the logo, the new T-shirt logo at our platinum tier, to the to our patron page, so you can go back and take a look at that and see if you want to donate $25 for that T-shirt. I'm getting it. Our Blizz Pro boss is getting it, and I know there's some people who are planning to get it themselves. It's done by Ashmish Art. Wonderful guy. Did amazing work on it. Made Jimmy's abs look absolutely amazing.
Great cheese on them, guys.
You could make Parmesan, off of them. But we also are getting ready to start up the Patron Rewind here real soon, and that is where $15 donators can send us replays, and we'll cast them on Monday nights. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a real relaxed thing. Send us a clowny game you had, and Jimmy and whoever else decides to join us that night, I know I'm going to set time aside for this. So definitely me and Jimmy. Charlie will be there some nights. Maybe Carl will be there some nights, but it's going to be a fun time. So definitely look into checking it out, at least the gold tier. And I am going in reverse order today, just to kind of shuffle everything up. Silver tier, when we do our ARAM games, you get a pick. You get a pick once a show what hero you want us to play. Shadow thought it'd be a good idea to put me on Chromie one day, a patron of ours, and everyone learned that's a really bad idea on an ARAM map. So,
yeah.
And then if you donate at least $1 a month, we're gonna shout you out at the end of every show, which I'm getting ready to do here very shortly. You have our love, you have our thanks. Even at the dollar tier, you're not required to donate on any level. The show will always remain free to watch, but any monetary support is appreciated. A lot of work does go into this show. Sometimes stuff breaks down and we've got to replace it quickly. And that is what our patron is for. It's for improving the show and making sure we can bring the show to you every week. So please consider donating to it. But as I mentioned that, I have a few patrons to shout out this week. I'm not shouting out myself because that's redundant. JR was a patron last month, but he was at the $25 tier, so he's getting a t-shirt. Shadow, $5. Carl, another $5. Josh, who has been a long time donator to the show, with another $1. And then we've got Christinita, or I think that's one word. Looks like one word, with another $1. So thank you very much, guys, for donating. We love the support, and thank you very much.
Yeah, most definitely. As always, it's really appreciated. But make sure to check out heroesofthestorm.blizzpro.com. Ilbir does a really great job keeping that up to date on all the news that comes out. So make sure you check that site as you need your heroes news. As well as this show goes up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BlizzPro, along with the other great shows on the BlizzPro network. Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific is West March Workshop for Diablo 3. Thursdays at 7 p.m. Pacific is the Payload Podcast, which I'm a part of as well for Overwatch. And Sundays at 7 p.m. Pacific is Well Met for Hearthstone. They just had a really awesome expansion come out, so make sure to check that out if you're curious about that, as well as our Discord, discord.blizzpro.com. And that is going to be it. Any closing thoughts before we get into hero games real quickly here as this linky comes out from Flame?
A lot of changes coming this week. A lot of new players joining because of the Nexus Challenge. It's been an exciting time to be a Heroes player, and I'm looking forward to the PTR going live next week and seeing the changes that these that have been presented this week. See how that affects everything. But mainly Dibble's hype for me. I cannot wait for Diablo.
Most definitely. Flame.
First of all, I thought it was muted, so I'm sorry. I don't know how the Slinky sounded on my mic.
It was fine.
Secondly, I'm excited. Rank changes are usually my biggest thing. I want to get that stag, so actually I think my wife might get might do some team league with me to get the stag. So that'll be exciting.
There you go. Zach's closing thoughts before we head into our viewer games.
I'm going to call it now. Do you want to win a lot? If you're in silver or gold and you want to win a lot of games, as soon as this patch drops, pick Chromie.
There we go. There you have
People
it.
aren't good. People aren't going to know how to handle it. They're going to be waiting for an extra level, and you're just going to blow them up, and your team's going to win. You're going to snowball. You're going to feel good about yourself, and then Blizzard's going to nerf her, and you're not going to win anymore, and you're going to really hate yourself.
There you
So
go.
get that
If that
self
sounds like a great life
congratulations.
plan for you, then go right ahead.
Yeah, it's the best short-term life plan. Then go back to playing whatever you did and enjoy your new higher rank.
Oh my goodness.
One illegitimately.
There you go. And that's going to be episode 84 of the Heroes Power. We thank you guys for hanging out with us, and especially this long extended show because of the amount of stuff that Blizzard decided to drop on us this week. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you in the Nexus, and stay tight.